This show is proudly sponsored by Nedbank Business Banking. Wouldn't you rather have a bank that puts the expert back into expertise? Search Nedbank Bigger Picture Business Banking.
You're bound to find a new survey every other day, which speaks to underrepresentation of women in corporate structures. Yet, true gender parity in many large companies globally remains elusive. In fact, a recent study on salary trends shows that only 13% of South Africa's top executives are women. My guest today says this is not just bad from an ethical standpoint, but it can be a real killer for innovation and business growth. Tommy, thanks for talking to us. Why are there so few women in leadership positions in this country?
There's so many issues, but you need to look at how societally, how are women raised at home, taking care of families, not to be ambitious career women. We've got to look at organizations. Are they building cultures that encourage women to be leaders? Do they have a culture where women can speak up? Do they have a culture where women are allowed around the boardroom, the decision-making table? So I always say there is the societal, the organizational, and there's also the personal issues where women themselves, many of them still struggle with, do I deserve that job? Can I do that job?
So how then do we compare globally?
South Africa is ranked around number 18 out of 158 or so countries on the gender report. And what is interesting is countries like Namibia and Rwanda are part of the top 10. And I love that story, right? And the reason I love that story is when people want to compare what is happening in South Africa and on the continent, the automatic assumption, the automatic response is that, oh, we must be at the bottom. Because that's what people always think about the continent, right? But if you actually look at countries like the UK, they're in the 23s, America is in the 30s. So actually, we are doing way better than some of the developed nations out there. And we shouldn't actually consider ourselves to always be at the bottom.
So it's interesting what the research says, that companies with greater gender diversity have a better performance on the financial and innovation front. I'm wondering, what is it that a bigger presence of women brings to a company that's looking for enhanced performance?
Women are able to think broadly. You've heard a lot of statements such as, when you give a woman a job, that woman is able to feed not only their immediate family, but their community and extended family as well. So women, when they sit around a decision-making table, they're not looking at things in an isolated, what is the profitability, but rather looking at the domino effect within the broader community, within the broader society. And that is why we need these diverse views for women to be able to be allowed to innovate.
So you've just awarded achievers across the continent in the corporate world on their efforts to increase gender diversity. But one would argue that the real shift will come when smaller, medium-sized businesses really inculcate this into their corporate culture. How do we achieve that?
Inclusion and diversity. Having men, women, people with disabilities, and also having people who are probably in the LGBTQ space. Any business that is starting needs to consider, what do I need to grow? And you need to consider the voices and the representation. And do the people around your leadership table represent the target audience?
Tommy, thanks very much indeed for those insights. It's become increasingly clear that building a culture of gender equality in the workplace is no longer just an ethical imperative, but an absolute business priority.
This show was proudly sponsored by Nedbank Business Banking. Wouldn't you rather have a bank that puts the partner back into partnership? Search Nedbank Bigger Picture Business Banking.